This is Arab Talk on KPOO San Francisco, 89.5 FM. This is Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal. I'm Georges Lammam.
And this is Jamal Dajani.
And welcome to our listeners and our viewers from all over the world, from here in the Bay Area, throughout the United States, to Palestine and beyond. Welcome to another episode of Arab Talk from quarantined Northern California, shelter-in-place, Jess and Jamal's, remote studio. Jamal, the statistics on the coronavirus continue to look grim. And as of the start of our show today, we have close to 5 million worldwide cases noted, and we are at 330,000 worldwide deaths. In the U.S., we're hitting some grim milestones with 1.5 million people, being diagnosed with the coronavirus. And we're at the milestone now of close to 94,000 Americans having perished and lost their lives to the coronavirus. Those numbers are probably grossly underestimated. And Jamal, we're at a very interesting point right now, obviously, because all 50 states have decided to reopen to some extent. Some states like Alaska, like Texas, like Alabama are opening at a more accelerated rate. Other states like California, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland and Virginia are opening up a little bit more slowly and cautiously. So I think the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks, Jamal, will reveal itself to be a very, very critical time that will tell us and policymakers, and hopefully politicians will listen, where we're headed. My own opinion is that we're headed still for some very, very, very rough time. There's still a lot of states where the rates of increase are still climbing, Texas and Alabama. Death rates are increasing. Virus exposure rates are still increasing. And Jamal, this is the Memorial Day weekend, so people are itching to get out. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures that I've seen, but I see a lot of pictures of people not practicing social distancing. So I, for one, am a little concerned about what's going to happen in the next few weeks to a month.
Yeah, well, everyone is ready to hit the beaches. And that's, like you said, that's a big weekend, Memorial Weekend. And we've seen the images of people going to the beach. I don't know how you can protect yourself when you have crowds around you. But we're going to talk about this, Jess, and much more later on in the show. We've been talking to different people, as you know, during the past shows. And this show we're dedicating to people who have been doing something at home. And our guest, it's going to be very interesting. Our guest is going to be talking about music from his shelter in place. So I call this show Quarantined Music. And so our guest is a very well-known Bay Area artist, violinist, virtuoso, Georges Lammam. We've had him on the show before, and
many times
we've had him on the show with his colleague playing the guitar, and little did we know then that we're going to be actually hosting him remotely. So let's listen to the interview with Georges Lammam. We are very fortunate to have with us from his shelter in place in Northern California, Arabic violin virtuoso Georges Lammam, a solo violinist exemplifying the Arab style of instrumental improvisation. His repertoire spans a wide range of Arabic music, from classical to contemporary popular songs. Welcome again to Arab Talk, George. I hope that you and your family are in good health.
Thank you, Jamal. Yes, we're okay. Everything is fine. And thanks for having me again on your show. Absolutely.
Yes. So the last time we've had you on the show was with Gabriel Navia after a tour in Bolivia, and we discussed your latest album, Opus Omnia, and talked about Latin and Arab fusion. Little did we know that we will be now talking remotely, and the whole world will be under lockdown because of COVID-19. So as an artist, how have you been coping with the situation?
Well, the first thing is really I miss performing with other musicians. It's the interaction, the laughs. We look at each other and the cues and all this, which goes on with with performing live. And also, I miss also the audience energy.
Mm-hmm.
The people, what give us from their energy and how I've been a performer for a long time, so I really miss that a lot. So performing in front of the audience is totally different vibe, different feeling for a performer.
So you've been experimenting. Have you been experimenting? I know we talked earlier briefly, and you said you tried to kind of put some sort of a concert online. How did this go?
Yeah, there is actually this dancer. She lives in close to Stockton. She has a dance company, and she asked me if I will do this Zoom with her, with actual dancers from different places in the United States, from Arizona, from Southern California. And we have 8 dancers, actually, and we did the Zoom. So I get also, we were 3 musicians. We did the Zoom in the garden of one of the musicians. This garden, which of course was distance between us, and amazingly, actually, it was successful, and I enjoyed doing it. And we have around 380 viewers watching live that time, and we're planning to do again another one, but it will be probably just a concert, and I'm planning to do that via Zoom or via Facebook, live on Facebook. So there is plans. I also have another an event planned in San Antonio, Texas. This one is not canceled yet, which is going to be August 1st and 2nd, which is also another dance company I work with in San Antonio. They said they're going to go ahead and do it, and even if they have fewer audience, they're going to also do it on stream. So they want to do it because they think they will be ready, especially in Texas, by that time.
Yeah, well, some states are relaxing, of course, the shelter in place laws. They're different. Of course, we're in the Bay Area. We're still, I think, have one of the strictest ones around in the country. But I want to talk a little bit about your music. So for those who don't know you, I mean, we've known each other for many years, and you started your career playing traditional Arabic music. Then you started to experiment with other genre. How did this evolve? And do you think does this have to do with the diversity living in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Absolutely. So many different musicians, different cultures here, and over 15 years ago, I started exploring other kind of music and meet musicians from different countries. And specifically, I mean, I'm talking about Gabriel Navia, who actually we write together for some of the pieces on the albums before we talked about Opus Omnia, which was released a year and a half ago or something. But I'm doing also another album, which I've done around 3/4 of it. I still have a few pieces to go, and also Gabriel is also in it. It has a mixture of different styles, even a Khaliji style, from Khaliji up to Spanish influence in that recording. And I like creativity. I love creating something new you never heard before. So being in San Francisco helps me a lot with interact with the other artists from other countries.
Yeah, I mean, last time you guys were in the studio, I mean, and you were amazing. Just having the two of you, of course, we cannot do this now. Hopefully, this is in the future. We can do that. And I think that album was released in 2017. You know something? One of my favorite albums is I think it's your first or your earliest, Souk El Amir. I still I still love to listen to this in my car all the time.
That's from early 90s, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So I was like thinking, do you care about playing something? I don't know if from something that you've been working on recently or anything you'd like. I mean, our audience would love to hear you.
Since I love to please the Arab audience too, remember?
Yeah.
Probably I'll play something for Kulthum, maybe improvise and play something with Kulthum, which is this piece everybody knows in the Middle East, and the Arabs called Udarat al-Ayyam.
Yeah.
As the days turns, which is very appropriate for what we're going on these days. So I'll play a little bit of it in the beginning, but this is from Maqam Huzam.
Okay. Beautiful, bravo. I mean, this is amazing. I think. I mean, we have to adapt. I know what you're talking about. You really need your audience, but it seems like people are adapting a little bit, and it's not a bad idea holding like some concerts online. People are just like going crazy, being cooped up.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, since I remember since March 8th, it was my last concert I did.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago, we did that thing on Zoom, the show on Zoom, and hopefully it will be we're planning one. We're going to schedule another performance maybe in a few weeks. I'm not sure yet, but we'll post it on different places online, and then I'll let you know. I'll let also.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be more than happy to announce it and advertise it and spread the word. Now, last time we also talked about during the summer, you were holding like some summer camps, and
Yeah, actually, it's
what's happening with these?
July 11 is this is the 30th actual anniversary for this camp, Middle Eastern Music and Dance Camp, and I talked to them a few weeks ago. They put it on hold.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't cancel it because it's a big year for them. It's on hold right now because also the parks are closed. All the parks are closed because this is on federal land. It's in Mendocino, in the Redwoods. Maybe if they open the parks are open, they could do it, or maybe could postpone it for another date in this year. So we're not sure yet, but it's still postponed.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. That seemed to be like a great kind of event, musical event for people coming, young people coming from all over.
Yes, it's not only it's Middle Eastern camp. So there's Arabic music, there's Turkish, there's Persian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, different kinds. There's faculties of 30, 35 musicians and dancers. They come and teach there. It's a big camp, very popular camp, been going for 30 years. So this is the 30 years anniversary for this year.
Earlier, you mentioned, I just want to be clear to our audience, you were talking about Arabic maqams. These are scales, right? Just if you can explain a little bit the difference.
Scale is a mode, and we have so many of them. What I played, that was one of them, called Maqam Huzam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there is, like with Arabic music, especially with your music, I mean, you constantly change kind of like in the rhythm and you improvise, right? That's kind of part of it, is the improvisation aspect.
Rhythmic changes within one use of maqamat, which is scales. Some of these songs, especially the classic songs, which is 45 minutes, an hour long, the song can go through maybe 7 or 8 maqams, and then goes back to the original maqam, what the song was written from. Improvisation, big part of it. So you have to know your maqams to be able to improvise very well in the Arabic style.
Yeah, and then you use, of course, traditional Arabic instruments. I know, I mean, the violin is like, it's fairly new compared to the qanun and others, right? The violin is like about a couple of 100 years.
The qanun and the oud and the nai goes back to the centuries. The violin was introduced like over 200 years ago, yeah. Well, they say the violin came from the rabab.
Yeah.
The rabab was created first and then traveled to Europe, and in Europe they developed it to become a violin, and then they traveled back again to the Arab region through the Ottomans, which is 200 years ago.
Well, I think you are a gem, really, for on a global level, but certainly for us in the Bay Area, and we miss you, and people can purchase your CDs. Where can they get them on?
They're online or iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby. There's many sources. Just put my name there, and it will appear under different places.
Yeah, definitely, George. I mean, and I think eventually we'll all get together and we'll have a great concert, so we can enjoy your music and everyone else, and then have this audience interaction. Maybe now it's going to be a little bit changed. There were some changes that people, I don't know how will you feel sitting in front of an audience when everybody's like wearing a mask, for example. you can't see their facial expression.
Even if things open, especially the venues and the nightclubs and the concert places, it's going to be hard to get people to come in because people are still scared. But I think when time passes, it's going to take a while, especially when it comes to live performing. So that's why I'm focusing on trying to finish my CD, which is also I still since also March I did not record because my engineer and my producer his family doesn't feel comfortable because I work with the home studio. His family kind of a little bit scared still to have anybody come to the house and do recording. But I'm checking with actually my producer every day to see when can come again. We're working from far away. I record melody on my phone and send it to him. He works on it in studio. He sends it back, and then we're working that way. But it's nothing like going there and to the studio and recording yourself, and you work with all the equipment there. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on Arab Talk, even though remotely, and I want you to take us home with anything you want to play. Take our audience, maybe anything if you're liking or from your most recent work.
Okay, you will know this one. Well, thanks so much for having me, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Yeah, things will be better.
Yes.
Well, Jamal, that's the virtuoso Georges Lammam, who's being very creative during the time of shelter in place, and you have to give George and his group a lot of credit because they've managed to do something very creative, keeping the spirit of their music and what they believe in, alive during some very difficult times. So, our hats go off to Georges.
Yeah, and then what he said, actually, he's still in his creative mode. Actually, he's working on a new album. But he said the one thing that he misses, and I don't know how this will change very soon, is the audience. And that this is the audience is the kind of the bloodline for musicians. I mean, he can't perform live. He cannot look at the faces of the people. He cannot hear them clapping, cheering on, and so forth. So I don't know. Things are going to change one way or the other. Even I'm trying to kind of keep up with all the different things that people are trying to do once things open up, like restaurants practicing distancing. As I just watched on TV a few minutes ago, a restaurant installing plexiglass tables, like you're gonna go inside a booth, inside a plexiglass bubble, Jess. I mean, is this the world we are going to be living in?
Yes, and so let me tell you the bad news, Jamal. Yes, this is the world that we're going to be living in for the foreseeable future. And a couple of interesting things related to just what you just said. NASCAR had their first race this past weekend without an audience. And one of the winner of the race, I think it was Kevin Harvick, said at the end, as they were interviewing, during the race he couldn't tell anything, but it was very weird. He had won the race and there was no cheering.
Exactly.
And Governor Newsom here in California, for our people who are local, just announced that baseball, football, both college and professional, are going to be able to start practicing again. And we know that there are plans to have these sports start up again in the fall. Baseball sooner rather than later. Baseball probably July, without any fans, Jamal.
Well, the basketball season is not over, right? So
Right.
what are they going to do? They have to finish the season, the playoffs, and then the finals without an audience.
Basically, it's going to be without an audience. And I think what you'll hear from the professional athletes is the same thing we heard from Georges Lammam, which is playing without the energy and the noise and the sounds of the crowd is an enormously different experience. But given the nature of the virus and what we know about it and where we're headed, it still seems like this is the best and most prudent thing to kind of, as a compromise between having sports and athletic activities and other social activities that we're all very fond of, kind of mixed with the reality of the coronavirus, the spread of the virus, and the real possibility, Jamal, that not only is this the new reality for the foreseeable future, but some experts are predicting a rather significant reemergence of infections this fall. Again, when the flu, we've talked about this, when the flu hits, and the coronavirus will probably come back in the fall. This is kind of important. I mean, I read somewhere that because of the shelter in place, this is on one of the medical journals I read, that the number of vaccinations that people are getting for kids, for example, is down significantly. So kids aren't getting vaccinated as much. So this is going to raise some difficulties, when the school year starts, which is also going to be, basically either social distancing or online. The university where you teach, Jamal, has decided, for the next year, basically, that it's going to be all online.
So just talking about vaccines, Jess, because you keep hearing about this, and I think there is a major confusion now. Sometimes, you get the media hyping people's hope. The past week, just watching, there is a disconnect, it seems, between the economy at large, unemployment, which is going to hit 40 million at some point. It's 37 million people unemployed. But yet, the stock market has been going up based on the hopes that things are going to open, that the US is going to open and we're going to go back to normal, but also on some companies working on some vaccines. Like just a couple of days ago, as you know, Moderna made an announcement that they've made some advances and then its stock just went up the roof. I mean, this is a company that was a couple of months ago trading for in the $20 range and then it just shot up to about $80.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, they said, well, we have some positive news, but we haven't found the vaccine. And there are others, companies. But so there is that big hyping that we're going to get the vaccine like almost it's around the corner. Is that true, or is just like hot air?
Well, I have to tell you, Jamal, in the last week, one of the most disturbing things that I've seen has to do with the irresponsibility of the reporting, number one, from mainstream media. The leading report on all of the mainstream media and even the cable news network, the breaking news has been advances in hope for a vaccine. And basically taking the lead from Donald Trump himself, talking about his warp speed project that will have a vaccine by the end of the year. This is irresponsible. This is an example of kind of a denial of the process of what it takes to create a vaccine, and then also a denial of science. Because for people to be hopeful at this stage about a vaccine is, I'm going to use some strong words, is really irresponsible and I would say delusional. Because number one, you have to go with the FDA, Jamal, the traditional route. You have to go through 3 phases. The Moderna press release is based on some early phase 1 studies, which showed some remotely good news about the impact of the virus on macaque monkeys.
But all that it said is now they can move to stage 2, but yet people acted like as if
it's not true.
The discovery is there. But I want to actually mention Donald Trump, and I started like almost shivering, to tell you the truth, because the other thing that blew my mind is his announcement about taking the hydroxychloroquine. Making a public announcement, the President of the United States is taking a drug that is not prescribed for the coronavirus. It's a malaria drug. I mean, why would you do something like this? Just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's even worse than that, Jamal. So you have the President of the United States taking a drug that the FDA, from his own FDA, issued an alert saying that hydroxychloroquine can have not just negative consequences, but severe consequences to the point of death, because it's what we call cardiotoxic. It has toxicity for the heart and for your cardiovascular system. So the FDA has not approved hydroxychloroquine. It has serious, significant side effect potential if you take it, and it's not approved, obviously, for the coronavirus. So for the President of the United States to get his personal physician to prescribe it for me, that's problematic in enough. But for him to go on TV to announce it means that, number one, he's probably scared, and number two, he's hyping this idea that things are better. It's just around the corner.
I personally thought it over, and I could be wrong, but I just don't believe that he's taking it. I feel it's just just for a media circus, because, for Trump, who's a germaphobe, to be kind of ingesting some foreign drug that has not been proven to be a cure. And anyway, he's not. If it is a cure, why take it? Because obviously you've been, you don't have the coronavirus. So this is like telling me to take antiviral drugs for some virus like HIV or whatever when I don't have it.
Right, for preventative.
Yeah.
His idea, Jamal, is that he wants to take it for preventative reasons. It's really irresponsible for him to say this. Whether or not he's taking it or not is a really good political point. I will tell you that, as I said, his own FDA came out against it, and the American Medical Association came out with a statement, basically saying this is not encouraged, recommended. People should not take hydroxychloroquine, nor should physicians prescribe it. I just want to say one other quick thing about the vaccines. At the heart of science, Jamal, is you have data that is transparent and that can be replicated. So the reason I'm concerned about the Moderna results that got everybody happy and was the breaking news all over the world, that Moderna has not made the data available for other scientists to independently review, number one. And number two, it's only phase 1. We need to get to phase 3, and we have to have independent confirmation of the findings. So in the absence of that, the fact that the media and these privately run companies can get out there to improve their stock prices and to give people hope, I'm very concerned about, because frankly, I'm still of the opinion that we're headed for some rough times, and that the vaccine is not just around the corner.
Well, it's nice to give people hope, but he can't give them false hope, and that's the danger of all these announcements. You're listening to Arab Talk on KPOO San Francisco, 89.5 FM. So I want to switch gears, because we have about 15 minutes, and talk about the biggest announcement. Of course, it didn't make big headlines right here in the United States, which is that the now and finally, after 27 years, Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority leader, has declared an end to security cooperation with Israel and the United States, citing the imminent threat of Israeli annexation of parts of the West Bank. And this is a statement from Abbas. He said the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, and the State of Palestine are absolved as of today of all agreements and understandings with the American and Israeli governments, and of all the commitments based on these understandings and agreements, including the security ones. For me, the key word is the security, because Abbas has threatened to end all agreements, and basically he has ended all communications with the United States and Israel. However, we know that security coordination between the Palestinian Authority and the Israelis has continued.
Well, Jamal, I think 27 years too late. I mean, for Abu Mazen, I mean, I think it's a positive step in terms of the future. I think it's a positive step politically, but come on, Abu Mazen, 27 years too late. The catastrophe of the Oslo Agreement, where more Palestinian land has been stolen, more settlements have been created. Basically, the Israelis and the Americans have acted independently of any coordination or kind of negotiation with Palestine, with Palestinians. And now, because you have Pompeo and Netanyahu coming, threatening, and probably doing, full annexation of the settlements in the West Bank, it looks to me, Jamal, I don't know what your feeling was. You read the kind of papers in the Arab world, so you can give an analysis. It appeared to me kind of weak. I mean, I listened to his statement, I watched it, I looked at the subtitles, and it seemed weak to me. What do you think?
Well, I listened to the speech itself, and I've listened to all the speeches actually that President Abbas has delivered in the past few years. And this is not the first time he had made such threats, with the exception of the security, because he has a very famous speech that he said that the security coordination is holy. He called it holy when he was questioned that we will, he called it the holy. And everybody at the time attacked him, and they were very in shock to say that security coordination and cooperation with the Israelis is a red line. We will never end our coordination. And now he's basically walking back these words. Right. However, what I'm saying, he gave the sense of security, and to the Israelis and everyone else who is supporting them, like the United States, that no matter what, Israel can do anything she wants, annex more land, invade towns and villages, arrest people, and the security coordination will continue. Right. And that's why this was the weakest point for all his threats to end cooperating with the Israelis or talking to them. It didn't matter for Benjamin Netanyahu as long as the Palestinian security forces continued to protect the illegal colonial settlers there and continue to prevent Palestinians from going into what they call Israel proper and do their dirty work for them on the ground and their police work on the ground. So that's why, in fact, the card that he used just a couple of days ago, talking about the security, he should have used that first. Right. And if you judge from all the previous history and what happened to the Palestinian Authority, even in times when the United States stopped its financial aid to Palestinians, the one item that Congress did not vote to end was the funds that went to the security.
Right.
And so they stopped funding schools, they stopped funding hospitals, they stopped funding salaries of other employees or work or infrastructure, but they kept the money going for security because the Palestinian Authority is basically doing the police work for the Israelis. And Israel basically and its cohorts at the U.S. Congress didn't want to touch that item.
Right. But here's the problem, Jamal. politically speaking, and from a point of view of like how one negotiates and kind of represents for one's people, for Abu Mazen to make the statement now, after he's been completely kind of undermined for the last 27 years of Oslo, it's just like he made the statement from a position of complete and utter weakness after the deal was done. It's like, it just seemed, I don't know what to say, and I'm curious to see what some of the analysts have said in the Arab world about this. But you know, I mean, theoretically, you want to negotiate and make these statements from a position of leverage and power. And he's making this statement from a position of weakness and lack of power. What impact is this really going to have?
So far, zero impact. In fact, Israel has not responded, has not officially responded to his statement. Usually
they don't care.
They usually have something to say. Even the United States has not officially responded. Pompeo said something, well, yeah, that's the Palestinians keep doing the same thing. They don't want to sit around the negotiation table, which we know this is, they take from the old
playbooks.
The old playbooks and the myth that Abba Eban, the former Israeli foreign minister, who once said that Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. So they keep like as if they were given an opportunity. They've been eating that cake, leaving crumbs to the Palestinians every time they say, well, you don't want to negotiate. We don't have a partner. So Mahmoud Abbas was actually the first person, and he should have called their bluff in 1993,
exactly.
not in 2020. When he said, okay, which by the way, this is not he at the time, no one, not too many Palestinians supported that stance, giving basically a big chunk of historic Palestine, signing a peace agreement, allowing Israel to control the borders, basically creating a de facto state without an army, without sovereignty. He went through with this.
Right.
And despite all these, the Israelis basically thumbed their nose at Mahmoud Abbas and people around him. And I'm talking people, meaning Palestinians on the ground, others, were waiting to see where is that dividend that he promised us that peace is going to bring to Palestinians. Their kids are still getting arrested. Their kids are still getting killed. Their water is getting stolen. Their land is getting stolen. Settlers are uprooting olive trees, ancient olive trees from their lands. No peace, no prosperity, only to the Israelis. The Israelis who are walking around the streets in Tel Aviv, they no longer worry from Palestinian resistance because Mahmoud Abbas and his security forces made sure to stop that. And at the same time, it's out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
They have Gaza under lockdown. And they have basically the rest of the West Bank with multiple controls of checkpoints and so forth. So actually Israel has been prospering until the coronavirus, just like the rest of the world. They have a very vibrant economy. They have a vibrant Silicon-style valley going on from Tel Aviv and up north from that area. And the Palestinians are the ones who have been suffering and living under apartheid conditions. So he's back now to the wall. He has nothing to offer. And he's saying, I'm going to do something after 27 years. It's a little bit...
It's too little, too late, Jamal.
Too little, too late. And I don't know what he is betting on. I think like he's betting like if we stop the security, something will happen, which will really reflect badly on the Palestinians because people have had it. And then, Palestinians might start attacking Israelis or vice versa and whatever. And then mayhem will erupt. And then he can say, to prove himself out and to say, you see, we brought you security for 27 years. Now we don't have our security forces around to protect the settlers. I mean, this is what he's doing. He is offering a service. Mahmoud Abbas wants to offer a service to protect now the shocking number, 900,000
settlers.
Illegal colonial settler in the West Bank. When he came to power, they were under 100,000.
That's exactly right, Jamal. And so we've seen under Abu Mazen's leadership, a steady erosion of, everything having to do with Palestinian sovereignty, Palestinian political power, Palestinian economic power. It's all gone into I hate to say this, but it's gone into the toilet completely. I don't see what his next step or end game is, Jamal. There's no election coming up. The Palestinian economy is in terrible shape right now, especially in Jerusalem right now, which is essentially shut down. The economy. Gaza is still under siege and doesn't have any kind of viable economic, progress going on in any shape, way, or form. Now the Israelis and the Americans, Jamal, are ignoring Palestinians. We don't have a political address. I'm afraid that this is among the lowest points politically that we have faced since Oslo. It's been a steady decline. We've talked about the death of Oslo for so many years now, Jamal. This is really a very, very low point when you think about it right now.
Yeah, well, the problem is that his timing couldn't have been worse.
Nobody cares.
No one. I mean, we used to talk about how the so-called Arab Spring has overshadowed the events in Palestine. So people were paying attention to what's going on in Syria, for example, and so forth. And now the entire world is facing this pandemic.
They don't care.
They don't care. They have their own issues. Economies are collapsing. Countries are under lockdown. Travel, So for him to make this declaration on top of everything else, and it's just like the worst timing. I mean, I'm not even talking about he has waited 27 years, but he picked the worst year,
absolutely,
and the worst moment. That if we're talking about a priority list, a global priority list, and if the Palestinian was like ranked as item number 80 on that list, it's now item number 8,000 on that list. So that's the situation here. In fact, I mean, we talked about it, and other people came up with suggestions before, talking about, since Israel is moving towards apartheid, just like dismantle the Palestinian Authority and let Israel be responsible
for everything.
Yeah, for everything, because that's part of the international agreements, and the responsibility of an occupier.
Let's go to what we spoke about last week and what we've been speaking about for many years here on Jamal. This might be the perfect opportunity for the one-state solution to start building momentum and to start going forward. With all the craziness of Palestinian leadership inadequacy, maybe this is an opportunity to take hold of this concept and to build on it for the future. One person, one vote. Let's just.
Well, it is the reality. I mean, it has been the reality for many years.
But the spoken reality. Let's make it the spoken reality.
You are talking about a one state under Israeli control, from the Mediterranean Sea to the Jordan River. They control everything, but the fact is, you don't have a binational state. It's a binational existence under apartheid. You don't have a democracy. This is the fallacy that Israel and the United States try to create around the world. Israel is a democracy. It's nonsense. There is nothing democratic about Israel that anyone can attest to. All that you have to do is for someone to go on the ground, just visit a couple of Palestinian cities, or for that matter, just go to Jerusalem, the so-called united capital of Israel, and look at the Palestinian neighborhoods versus the Jewish neighborhoods and see if you can find a trace of democracy in that.
Well, on that sobering note, Jamal, we've come to another end of Arab Talk here on KPOO 89.5 FM here in San Francisco, where Arab Talk is continuing to produce our Arab Talk show from our remote locations, sheltering in place in Northern California. We thank our listeners and our viewers for tuning in again, Jamal. You know, all of our shows can be viewed from our website and our podcast site, ArabTalkRadio.com. They can check out the live simulcast on your Facebook page, Jamal Dajani 2, and we have to continue reporting on all of these topics, whether it's the coronavirus or what I think, you know, and I'm kind of hopeful because I think that this could usher in a new era of Palestinian kind of political strength now that we have completely, for how many times now, killed off Oslo.
Well, we will talk to you next week. Stay healthy.
Stay safe.
And stay safe.
And don't drink bleach, please.
Okay.
See you next week.
See you next week.